we're going to find the least common multiple, or LCM as I'm going to probably call it, of two numbers. To do this, we're going to need to make sure that we know how to use prime factorization. So if you haven't watched the video for that or studied that, please make sure you do that first, because that's going to be one of the main things that we use for one of our methods. We're going to look at another method as well, in which we just list factors. We'll talk about what's the difference between the two and which one's easier to use. And the key thing here is to use math reasoning as your authority. Make sure your answer actually makes sense. And then we'll go from there. Learning experience-wise, you can read it down there. I'm not going to go over it right now. But we're doing quite a few things in this video. So, first off, what even is a least common multiple? The least common multiple is the least multiple, not including 0, that is the same for both numbers. What's a little bit tricky about this is, since you hear the word least in there, you'd think it would be smaller than any of the two numbers you're given. It's actually going to be either the same size as the biggest one or bigger. Let's look at an example. If we have the numbers 2 and 3, and we're told to find the least common multiple, we can find that the least common multiple, the smallest common multiple, for them both would be 6. So, how do we actually find this? Let's go into an example. Let's start off by trying to use prime factorization to do this. We're going to find the LCM of 12 and 18. So that means we need to first find the prime factors of both 12 and 18. I'll go over how to do 12, and 18 will just speed through and you can do it on your own, just to save some time. So, first thing we need to do is we need to think, what can we break 12 into? Well, two of the factors of 12 would be 2 and 6. 2 is going to be a prime number, so we can leave that one as is. 6, on the other hand, that's a composite number. We can break that down again into 2 and 3. Those are both prime numbers as well. So we can say that our prime factors for 12 are going to be 2, 2, and 3. Now, if you'd like to try finding 18 on your own, give it a quick shot, pause the video. I'm going to skip to when we've found the prime factorization for 18 as well. So, we've found the prime factors for 18, and we've made a little chart in blue to show those. So, with least common multiple, the best way to do this is to look at what numbers you have, and you're going to circle all the numbers that you have the greatest number of. Now, that's a little bit confusing, so let me clarify. If we look at the prime factors for 12, we have 2, 2, and 3. The number that occurs the most is 2. So we're going to circle both of our 2's. We're going to do the same thing for 18, but here we see that we have 2 3's. So we're going to circle both of those 3's. As for what we do with them, we're going to write them as a new multiplication sentence. So we have 2 times 2 times 3 times 3. And we're just going to go through and multiply these together. So 2 times 2 is going to give us 4. 3 times 3 is going to give us 9. We're still multiplying. That's really important to remember. 4 times 9 is 36. So 36 is going to be our least common multiple for 12 and 18. If we think about 12 and 18, this actually kind of makes sense because we can count 12, 24, 36, or we can count 18, 36. It is the first number that is a multiple of both 12 and 18. It's not the only one, but it is the smallest one. It is the least, which is why we call it a least common multiple. Make sure you have this written down. Pause if you need to, and then we will continue from there. So now that we've gone over how to find the least common multiple, I want you to try finding the least common multiple of 4 and 12. Ready, go. So, you found how to find the least common multiple of 4 and 12. Let's talk about another way that we can go about finding our least common multiples. What we can do is we can just write a list of all of the multiples of 4 and 12. So I'm going to start off with the 4s. And we'll also have our 12s here in a second. So we've got, well, actually, let's start off with the 12s. So we got 12, we got 24, we have 36, we have 48, and we'll go up to 60 for now. You could go further if you needed to. I don't think we're going to need to go further, so we'll stop there. Next, let's find the multiples of 4. We have 4, we have 8, we have 12, we have 16, we have 20, and again, we'll stop there, just because at this point we already have what we need to have. So, after we write out our list of multiples, we just need to look for what is the smallest number both of these have in common. So if we look, the only number that any of these have in common is 12, which means that your least common multiple for both 4 and 12 should actually be 12 itself. Sometimes when finding a least common multiple, the least common multiple will be the bigger number, if the smaller number goes into the bigger number. So, that's a really fast way to do it. That being said, if you are trying to find the least common multiple of two really big numbers, like let's say 48 and, 36, I don't know my multiplication tables for 48 and 36. So if that were the case, I would probably use the factor tree, just because it's going to be a little bit more accurate more often. But this works well if you've got really small numbers. So let's talk about things to remember. Remember, use the prime factorization method to help you find the least common multiple. This works well with any number. You just have to find the largest group of prime factors for each number, then you multiply them all together. Alternatively, you can use lists of multiples to find the least common multiple. This works best with smaller numbers rather than bigger numbers, but really it comes down to whichever one you prefer. So for some suggested practice problems, there are 5 here for you. The first 3, you can use whichever method you think would work best. For number 4, I want you to specifically use a prime factorization tree. Use that to help you find the least common multiple. And for number 5, I want you to try to use a list of factors. That way you can try to practice both of them. Even if you prefer one, you can see how the other one works as well. Good luck.